Hey, this is Heather Christie, and I want to say thanks for tuning in to the Evolve to Win show. I want to share with you today the 134 dots. It is a concept that I've learned about in one of my certification trainings that I went through with one of my coaches that literally changed the way I look at things. It changed the way I perceive other people. And it helped me to really let go of some of the judgments that I used to have about how other people think or feel. So let me just share this with you. It's amazing. I want to start off by just having you think about who's that person in your world who will be sharing a story and they give this fact pattern about the story, the event that you attended, and it's completely different from your recollection. I've got a couple of people in my world who are like that, where they'll tell a story and I'll be sitting there listening to the story and it doesn't even remotely sound like the time that we had together. They've changed the facts, they've changed the situation. Everything sounds different. And I used to be the one to correct them if they got it wrong. It's like, no, we weren't there. No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what you ordered, whatever. And then I realized that that's just not helpful. Well, why does that happen? And why does it happen? Like, especially today, how many people are just so diametrically opposed, whether that be political beliefs about so many things right now. Just take COVID. Like, we've got such a spectrum of how people think about what you should and shouldn't do during this crazy time. So why is it that people think so differently and believe so differently, like so strong in their beliefs, they think it's the truth? Well, guess what? It is the truth. It's the truth for them. And here's why. I want to tell you what actually happens in the brain to help you understand why it's not only possible, but probable that people are going to see and relate to completely different events. So here's how it goes. You've heard me if you've ever listened to the Evolve to Win show in the past. If you haven't seen it, you can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got all the past episodes up there. So you've heard me talk about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Well, I'm not going to get too deep into neurology here, but I want you to get this. We have data coming at us like crazy, massive amounts of data that we have to process with our neurology every second of every day. In fact, there's a Hungarian scientist who wrote the book called Flow, and he says that we have 2 million bits of information coming at us every second. So think about that for just a moment. 2 million bits of information are coming to us every second. I almost feel like I need to repeat that again and again and again because it's obviously way more than we can handle. The conscious mind cannot possibly handle this amount of information. In fact, the conscious mind can effectively handle 134 bits of information. Okay, so I want you to picture it like this. This is how my coach taught me. He said, can you imagine that you had a picture that was made up of 2 million dots and it created this big, beautiful landscape? Right? You've seen those pictures before that are just all the little tiny dots shaded in, right? Now imagine you have this picture with 2 million dots that creates this landscape. Now you've taken away all but 134 of those dots. What do you see now? So think about that for just a minute. If you only have 134 dots, what do you see now? Can you make out that picture? You probably just see a bunch of dots that don't necessarily mean anything or could mean many different things. Well, that's what happens with our thinking. So we take in all this information, all this massive amounts of data through our 5 senses. And then when it hits us, it goes straight to the unconscious mind, which is infinite. The unconscious mind can handle anything and everything and then some. And yet, the conscious mind, as I said, can only handle 134 bits of information. So here's what the role is of the unconscious mind. It deletes, it distorts, and it generalizes all this massive amount of data that comes to us. And the way that it deletes, distorts, and generalizes is when it hits our subconscious mind plays the role of essentially stripping out anything that it doesn't deem essential. Okay. So you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. It's trying to keep us from complete overload. I mean, imagine what would happen if your conscious mind tried to take in everything that's actually out there. So it's stripping out this non-essential data. And the way that it does it is it compares that data with your existing view or model of the world. So said another way, the way that I expect things to be is the way that my unconscious mind filters the world for me. So whatever my model of the world is, however I think the world is, however I think my coworker is, whatever I'm looking for, whatever I'm expecting because of my past experience with this person, because of my beliefs, my judgments, the data that's come to me before, I will line up unconsciously all the information that supports that belief system. And by the way, I will delete anything that doesn't match up. Now, you can imagine with 2 million bits of information per second, there's a lot of deleting going on. There's a lot of distorting going on. And quite honestly, if the information coming to us doesn't match up with our view of the world, then our unconscious mind will actually make things up so that the interpretation of the experience is most relevant to each of us. That's crazy. It'll actually make things up. Now, you know how I know this is true because I've heard my husband before tell a story of a time that we were together, and I'm convinced he's making up some of these facts because I'm like, no, that did not happen. All right. So the subconscious mind is creating a version of reality through deleting, distorting, and generalizing, a version of reality that then we take in and we make this internal representation, right? So this is now my story and I own this story. So my conscious mind only gets a little piece of the puzzle. So the last time that you had a thought or a belief or an experience that showed up completely differently from your colleague, from your friend, from your family member, your spouse, your teenage child, now you can understand that whatever it is they're seeing, whatever it is they believe, it is the absolute truth for them. And quite honestly, the truth for them is made up of those 134 bits of information, or what I like to say, they're 134 dots. So I see a certain picture with my 134 dots. What are the chances that I'm going to pull the same dots as my husband, Paul, pulls? Well, sometimes we do, but certainly sometimes we don't. And I want you to think about this in the workplace, right? Think about this with all those people who you work with. There are some people who you tend to be more aligned with. You get along with them better. You kind of see eye to eye, so to speak. Well, with those people, you might have some similar beliefs and values that help to shape your current view of the world, right? And so if you think in a similar way, you're going to also perceive some of the same dots. But then there's other people who see things differently. They consume different information and they've got a different set of dots. So every time, okay, this is crazy. We have this neighborhood app called Nextdoor. I don't know if you guys have ever been on this before. If you haven't, look it up. It's actually extremely entertaining and it's valuable. Anyway, this app has just every neighbor in neighborhoods all around the place. I was on the neighborhood app the other day and I saw that some woman had her car broken into. And so she was reporting, hey, in this neighborhood, there was some vandalism that happened and it was in the middle of the night and kids broke in and they stole money out of my car. And then I'm reading the responses and the responses ranged from, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing, to, I can't believe you would leave money in your car, to, why didn't you park your car in your garage, to all sorts of judgments or, what she had done wrong. And then there were all sorts of people who started judging those who were judging and talking about how this app is so negative at times. And honestly, like, I wanted to break out the popcorn because here I am just looking at this thread and seeing 134 dots here and a different 134 dots here. And once you do that and you just start to see that everybody sees a little bit of a different picture based on their current model of the world, it allows you to just kind of have fun with it. And you can just roll by when somebody seems to be coming across as negative. Chances are good they just have a different set of dots and a different viewpoint from you. So I don't know what you have right now as your current model of the world, and I don't know what your 134 dots are, but I do know that whatever they are, they're true for you because your beliefs are the truth. And I also know that you can change them at any point in time. So if for any reason you are seeing things that feel negative, that don't feel good, if you are in an emotional space right now and you're really struggling, like there really is a lot of true struggle that's happening out there right now, and that's real. And even in the midst of struggle, you can choose the 134 dots. You can do it intentionally by setting your intention on things like gratitude, on things like you're setting your vision for the future and what that future will be and how you live into that future and what you can do today and what you can do right now. So if you don't like your dots, pick new ones. And if you've got other people with different dots, just recognize it's the truth for them. And it is what it is. So I hope you enjoyed this brief session on 134 dots. And if you know somebody who might like to hear it, please feel free to share it. And leave me your comments, any thoughts that you have. Always appreciate the feedback. Have an awesome day.